Lou woke up in the middle of the night with a strange pressure in his chest. For some reason, he was terrified. He scanned his entire room with wide eyes, trying to find something in the darkness. Right there at the foot of his bed, Annabelle was sitting. This is the statement documented in the Warren files. Somehow, I saw myself waking up. I knew I'd gone to bed, but something fell off. Then, suddenly, I saw her, sitting at the foot of my bed. It was a rag doll. It was Annabelle. I couldn't move. I could only feel her slowly crawling on top of me. I felt her climb up my legs, inch by inch, until she stopped right on my chest. I'll never forget those empty, pitch-black eyes. And then she lifted her arms and wrapped them around my neck. I saw myself being strangled by her. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move. I knew she wasn't going to stop until she killed me. Lou fought her with all he had until he blacked out. He woke up the next afternoon, convinced it wasn't a dream, determined to get rid of the doll and whatever was living inside it. He was worried about his friends. Even though he knew Annabelle would attack again if he returned home, he still went to Donna's apartment. It was almost 11 p.m. They were looking over road maps for an upcoming trip, when suddenly they heard violent crashing sounds coming from Angie's room. She hadn't come home from work yet. Donna panicked, thinking a burglar had broken in. But Lou feared something far worse. Summoning every ounce of courage he had, he walked over to Angie's door. The moment he stood in front of it, everything went silent. He opened it slowly, his hand trembling as it reached for the light switch in the darkness. The room was empty, except for Annabelle. She was sitting in the farthest corner from the door. Lou stepped toward her, but then he felt it, a terrible sensation on the back of his neck, like someone was watching him from behind. According to the Warren case files, Donna ran into the room after hearing Lou scream. She found him lying on the floor, completely paralyzed with fear. He was trembling, his shirt soaked in blood. Donna rushed to help him in the living room. When she lifted his shirt, she saw them. Deep claw marks on his chest. 7 in total, 4 horizontal, 3 vertical. Donna and Angie both confirmed seeing the wounds in the case records, but neither thought to take a photo for evidence. The wounds, which Lou claimed burned like fire and radiated heat, vanished completely just 2 days later. They didn't know who to turn to, and they were starting to realize they weren't dealing with the spirit of a little girl. They reached out to someone in the clergy. The first person who agreed to meet with them was an Episcopal priest named Father Hagen. He came to their apartment and listened carefully to the full story. Hagen understood the seriousness of the case, but admitted he wasn't trained for something like this. So he reached out to one of his superiors, Father Cook, who then contacted the most experienced demonologist he knew, Ed Warren. The Warrens wasted no time. They immediately sat down with all 3 witnesses. Ed, a devout Catholic and seasoned paranormal investigator, was shocked at how easily the girls had believed the words of a so-called spirit speaking through a medium. He told them straight, Annabelle had never existed. All the signs, the parchment notes, the doll mysteriously showing up at Lou's place, its unexplained movements when no one was home, the drops of blood appearing on the doll, they all pointed to one thing: intent, intelligence. But no human spirit had the power to do what they had witnessed. After the interview, they examined the doll, Lou's chest wounds, and confirmed that none of the witnesses had ever actually seen the ghost of the girl. The Warrens concluded their worst fears were true. They weren't facing a ghost. They were dealing with a demon. They believed the doll wasn't possessed. It was a conduit, a link between this world and the realm of the demonic. They said the medium had been manipulated, used to earn the trust of the group, opening the door for what they called an infestation. According to Ed, something demonic had invaded their home. Demons can't just attack anyone unless they're invited in. And in this case, recognizing the doll as a member of the household. That was the invitation. Once inside, it fed on their fear. The Warrens knew they had to act fast. After the attack on Lou, the demon's next step would be to leave the doll and attempt full possession of a human being. Ed Warren told the young people bluntly, "These beings don't possess things. They possess people." They had only been moving Annabelle like a puppet, giving the illusion that the doll was possessed. The attack on Lou was inevitable. Everyone in that apartment had been at risk of demonic possession, but since Lou never believed the story about Annabelle, he became the main target. Had they not intervened when they did, Lou probably wouldn't have survived another 2 weeks. Their only choice was an exorcism. They once again turned to Father Cook, who finally agreed to help after they explained the full gravity of the situation. Shortly after, he arrived to perform an Episcopal blessing. This wasn't like the dramatic Catholic exorcisms seen in movies. Instead of confronting and casting demons out, the Episcopal rite focuses on filling the space with divine power and light. Unlike in the movies, the ritual was quiet. Annabelle didn't react during the ceremony. When the blessing ended, the priest extended it to Donna, Angie, Lou, and even the Warrens, assuring them the demon would no longer be able to harm them. But Ed and Lorraine weren't convinced. They still had doubts that the evil had truly left the doll, especially after everything they had seen. So, they asked Donna to let go of it for good. She agreed, knowing it was the right thing to do. Ed carefully picked up the doll and handed it to Lorraine. But even Father Cook, who had just blessed the house, seemed unsure the ritual had worked. He warned Ed, "Don't drive home on the main highway. Take the back roads instead." He feared the entity inside Annabelle might tamper with the car. They placed the doll in a back seat, buckled in, and hit the road. What followed was the most stressful drive of their lives. Ed obeyed the warning and stuck to side roads, away from traffic that could be endangered by their demonic passenger. The Warrens later described how their vehicle began to lose control around every curve. The brakes would fail to respond, and more than once they nearly drove off the road. After multiple near crashes with oncoming traffic, Ed finally pulled over, grabbed a small bottle from his bag, and doused Annabelle in holy water, making the sign of the cross. After that, the ride home was calm. Once back at their house, and for reasons even Ed couldn't fully explain, he placed the doll in a chair near his desk. He and his assistants soon reported seeing Annabelle levitate multiple times, only to suddenly crash back down into silence. But that silence didn't last long. A few weeks later, it all started again. The Warrens once locked Annabelle in their garage before heading out on an investigation. But when they returned and opened the front door, there she was, sitting calmly in Ed's desk chair, almost as if mocking their efforts to contain her. Just like in her previous home, Annabelle began appearing in different rooms without explanation. They had reached a breaking point. It was time to call in the heavy artillery. A full Catholic exorcism performed by an experienced exorcist, Father Jason Bradford. But Father Bradford wasn't pleased about being summoned for a rag doll. According to reports, during the first encounter, he stormed over to Annabelle, violently grabbed her, and shouted, "You're just a rag doll, Annabelle. You can't hurt anyone." Then threw her back into the chair. Ed, shocked, could only mutter, "It probably would have been better not to say that." Lorraine, also concerned, begged him to drive carefully and to call her when he made it back to the rectory. That call came hours later, in the middle of the night. Father Bradford, still in shock, told Lorraine his brakes had failed at an intersection. His car was completely totaled, and everyone involved had miraculously survived. That was the moment the Warrens decided. Annabelle was far too dangerous to be left out in the world. They built a special sealed case for the doll, a kind of glass coffin with a clear warning. Warning, do not open under any circumstances. Annabelle remains locked away in the Warrens' Occult Museum. She may not be able to move anymore, but that doesn't mean her powers are gone. The most chilling tale about Annabelle comes from a young couple of tourists. They were visiting the museum when Ed was giving a tour. After hearing the story, the young man, apparently trying to impress his girlfriend, tapped on the glass and challenged Annabelle to stand up and attack him. Ed immediately ended the visit and asked them to leave. That would be the last time the young man was seen alive. According to his girlfriend, just minutes after leaving the museum, he was still laughing about the crazy doll story. Well, he lost control of his motorcycle and crashed headfirst into a tree. He died instantly. She required almost a year of hospitalization. Skeptics say it was just a bizarre coincidence, but the Warrens always believed Annabelle had caused the accident. It's hard to confirm the truth of this case. We may never know if this was a true demonic possession, a string of chilling coincidences, an elaborate paranormal investigation, or one of the best orchestrated hoaxes in the field's history. The truth remains buried in the memories of a few, and we'll likely never uncover it completely. But one thing is certain, even if we remain skeptical until we experience it ourselves, we all know someone who swears they've seen, or owned, a doll that moved on its own. So the question remains, are they all stories like Annabelle's? Or something even darker, hiding inside them? As always, it's been a pleasure having you with us.